The weirdest F1 team names ever. It's fair to say the two new team names on the 2024 F1 grid have caused quite a lot of chatter amongst F1 fans, with some calling them the worst F1 team names ever. So this got us thinking, what other weird F1 team names have there been throughout F1 history? There have been quite a fair few teams with peculiar names, ranging from the mildly inappropriate to the downright strange. Let's take a look. Tekno. This F1 team sounds like their garage was full of ravers each race weekend. They joined F1 in 1972, having a series of disappointing races with 5 retirements, 2 DNSs and a DNQ in 8 races. The following year wasn't much more successful either, but they did manage to score 1 championship point with a 6th place at the Belgian Grand Prix. Either way, they didn't re-enter into F1, so not much to party about here. Osella. Osella was a part of F1 for 10 years, from 1980 to 1990. Throughout their F1 journey, they achieved only 2 points finishes and 5 championship points. The actual team name of Osella isn't actually that weird, but they did have a lot of weird sponsor names throughout their 10 years on the grid. Highlights of these include Denim Osella and Denim Samer Team Osella. That one is almost as bad as Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber. Another highlight for this team was the way their cars were named. They used the prefix FA1, not Fernando Alonso, when naming their cars, but they clearly hadn't thought this through much, as in 1988 they named their car FA1L, or Fail. Pretty fitting as the car was terrible. Aston Butterworth. There's not much to say about this team, given that they had a very short period in Formula 1, but we just thought that their name was so painfully British and so painfully posh that we had to include it. The Aston Butterworth team was founded in 1952 by Bill Aston and Archie Butterworth, starting out as an F2 constructor and debuting in F1 at the 1952 German Grand Prix. They weren't hugely successful, with the car retiring from their first ever race and continuing to have issues down the line, including, but not limited to, the car tending to catch fire at random intervals. Not great. The team then withdrew from F1 when the regulations changed in 1954, which was probably for the best. Virgin. Maybe a bit immature and obvious. Argue with yourself. Originally known as Manor Grand Prix, Virgin got naming rights at the end of 2009. This team raced in F1 in 2010 and 2011 under the names Virgin Racing and Marussia Virgin Racing. Across both seasons, they never managed a points finish, with their highest finish being 14th. Clearly they weren't going for the we never lose anything approach that their name might suggest. First Racing was an Italian racing team which competed in Formula 3000 in the 80s and 90s. They attempted to break into Formula 1 in 1989 and clearly had high hopes with their extremely positive team name. But nope, irony is a cruel thing. The car had a whole load of problems, which meant that their entry into F1 was delayed. They would have incurred a penalty for missing the first 2 races of the 1989 season and eventually decided that it wasn't worth it. Richard De Vila, the car's designer, clearly wasn't too positive about the car either, saying that it was nothing but an interesting flower pot. Ouch. Midland F1 Racing. Midland F1 Racing competed in the 2006 F1 season after being renamed from Jordan Grand Prix when the team was purchased by the title sponsor, Midland Group. They only remained in F1 for 1 season, and their name was quite fitting. They were positively, well and truly, mid. They had an alright season, going from second last to the midfield, but failed to qualify any higher than 14th for any Grand Prix. The team had at least 1 driver either retire or be disqualified in 12 out of 18 races, and had a bit of a habit of getting into first lap crashes, including one when one of their drivers T-boned the other at the Montreal Grand Prix. In September 2006, the team was sold off to Spiker Cars, bringing an end to the team's Formula 1 appearances. Given their extremely mediocre results, it's probably safe to say that they were stuck in Midland. I'm not sorry. Durex Team Surtees. This one might be a bit obvious. Surtees was a team that competed in the 1976, 1977 and 1978 F1 seasons. In 1976, they controversially partnered with Durex, the condom brand, becoming Durex Team Surtees. A bit of a distraction from the madness happening on track between Hunt and Lauda. The team also scuppered UK fans' chances of watching F1 that year, a year in which a British driver won the championship, given that the BBC refused to televise almost the entire season, including the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch, due to the sponsorship. Super Aguri. My favourite Super, alongside Mario, this team competed in F1 from 2006 to 2008. After Takuma Sato was replaced by Rubens Barrichello at Honda at the end of 2005, Honda was still keen to keep the Japanese driver on the grid, which led to the creation of Super Aguri, for whom Sato competed alongside Yuji Ide and Frank Montagny in 2006. I personally think that all teams should pop a Super in front of their team name: Super Red Bull, Super Ferrari, Super Haas, and of course, Super Steak F1 Team Kick Sauber. There we have it. What do you think is the weirdest F1 team name we've ever seen? Are there any we've missed out? Let us know in the comments.